Now I'm going to move my screen to the very top because I have the standard Windows 7 desktop background here. A very pretty picture of a White House, probably somewhere in New England. But the reason I moved my screen was to show you this. Notice this yellow colored semicircle at the very top of my screen. Now, it doesn't appear to be anything right now, but watch this. When I hover over it, three prongs come out to give you options to use this particular tool. Now, the tool is called Jing, Jing, and it's from a company called TechSmith. They make Snagit, Camtasia Studio, and many other products for many years now. Now, when we hover over the first prong, you see it gets a little larger, and the word capture appears. Now, what this first prong is used for is to screen capture. Now, I know there are many free screen capture programs out there, but some of them come with gimmicks and some of them don't work so well. This one has no gimmicks and it works very well. And when I left click on that circle, we are ready to capture. Notice that I have some crosshairs. And carefully look in the middle of the crosshairs and you'll see two numbers. In this case, it happens to be 1292 by 728. That is the current size that it wants to capture. However, when you use your mouse and you drag an area, you notice that you can control that number. You can control the size. You can control the width. You can control the height. Once you select the size that you want, another tool appears down at the bottom. Now, notice the first one says Capture Image. Now, what that means is whatever you have highlighted and circled in this 942 by 463 size right now, it will capture. And it will capture it as a picture. The particular format of that picture will be .png. In other words, a PNG file. Now, that's the only choice you have. You cannot capture as a JPEG with this particular free version. However, PNG works fine. It's a very popular file format, and you can learn to use it quite readily. Now, notice that the next icon says Capture Video. Now, there's no reason to capture video at this point. After all, nothing is happening on my screen. However, in the next lecture, we're going to capture a video where there is movement. And then we'll see just how well the Capture Video tool works. The third icon is a redo selection. So when we select that little arrow, we get back to where we were before. Here, we can choose a new selection. So I'm going to drag out a tall picture of just the lighthouse. And there's the four icons again. Notice this particular size is 311 by 609. In other words, 609 pixels tall and 311 pixels wide. And notice when I hover over any area inside the highlighted area, a four-arrow cursor occurs. By pushing down the left button on your mouse, you can rearrange this image to fit anything you choose. For example, if I were to do the lighthouse, I would probably not center it, and I'd want it something like so. However, what if I'm not happy with the size? I can go to the edge here and notice that a little window occurs telling me exactly how many pixels I'm making here. So for example, let's say I wanted a 400 by 600. I would come up to 600 here. And then on the left side, I'm going to pull that out until it's 400. Now I have a 400 by 600 image. Now I'm still not done. I can actually still move it. And in this case, I might move it to about here, let's say. Now I've taken this Windows 7 desktop background and I've captured an image that I could use in other places. Now, in order to capture the image, we'll go back down to the toolbar, we'll hover over Capture Image, and we'll select it. Now a new window occurs. Notice the 400 by 600 image is inside this tool. Now let's look at the tools up in the upper left. The first thing you have is an arrow. We'll try that in a second. However, let's go to the text and see that this T represents the ability to write text on this image. The frame tool allows you to draw a frame. It'll be a rectangle, but you can control the size and shape of it. The fourth tool is a highlight tool, and we'll come back to that in a minute too. However, before I do any of those, I'd like to go to the fifth button, which is the tool color. In this case, it happens to be green. Well, if I select the color, I can choose from these 9 colors. Now let's just choose this magenta here. We're not limited to these 9 colors. We could go into a custom button here and then control it just by going here and manipulating these tools to get the exact color that we choose. And just like many programs, you can actually hover in this area and decide which selected color you'd like. And you can also control the opacity. But we're not going to do that. We're going to cancel. We're going to accept the magenta color that's on the 9 frame color screen. So now let's go to our arrow, and let's say I wanted to point out the circular device at the top of the White House. I will just drag my cursor and I'm making an arrow as I do. Now once I release the left button on my mouse, you'll notice there's 2 boxes here. Well, here you can manipulate the arrow that you made. You can make it longer, shorter, from either end. So we'll manipulate this so we're just looking at the device, whatever it happens to be, at the top of the lighthouse. The next tool is a text tool. So we'll select that text tool. Notice that the green color is the tool color at this point. Let's just keep that color green. Now when we go into our image area with the text tool selected, we click once and a new screen appears that allows us to type whatever we wish. Let's not get too creative. We'll just call it Lighthouse. Now notice the little boxes at each corner of this area, and you see that you can manipulate it also. Now you don't want to cut it off too much, like for example here I'm cutting my actual text, but if you open it up, you could even create a second line of text. And then by hitting enter, a third line. Now that we have 3 lines, we might want to adjust our box area to fit the 3 lines that we have. And